Yo, what is going on, boys and girls? It is your boy Ethan Paul here, back with another video, and today we are going over the DPS character we all love, Ashe. And Ashe, in my opinion, is one of the best DPS, personally, I think. And yeah, let's just go over her kit a little bit. So Ashe has two different ways of aiming. They have aiming in, which does more damage. So if you do a headshot with aiming in, that's going to be about 150 damage. And if you do body shot, that's going to be about 75. And then you could also not aim in, which is going to give you about no aiming in and body shot. It's going to be about 40. And if you don't aim in and you hit a headshot, it's going to be about 80. Which isn't too bad, because you can spam it way quicker than you can with aiming in. But aiming in, you got to be a little bit more precise and hit your shots, because it rewards you for that. Also, Ashe does have a coach gun, which is kind of her getaway. As you can see, that kind of puts her in a position to get out of somebody diving on you, which really helps you get out of the way. But that's also not, you could also use that for damage, which is something I don't usually do, but you can, to try to finish off an enemy. Now, it's a shotgun, so it does have spread on it and bullet and pellets that hit. But if you somehow hit like this, like if you're right in the enemy's stomach and you hit all these pellets, it's going to be about 90 damage. And which, I mean, that isn't too bad, but it ranges from, I think, 30 damage to like 90 or something like that. Like realistically, but like if you just hit them like that, it's gonna do like, what is that, like 10 damage. But usually you want to use that for a getaway tool. That's how I like to use it. That's most important to use, because that's her only mobility. So you want to try to save that and use that to get up to high ground, maybe get away from somebody diving you in the back line, because that's mainly where you're gonna be at. And then she also has this thing kind of, it's called her Dynamite, and this is one of her biggest things. And it does, you have to shoot it to activate it, or else it'll blow up, I think, after 4 seconds. But Dynamite, over like 5 seconds, I think it does 150 damage, I want to say. And yeah, that's about it for Dynamite. It's just kind of a big AoE. Kind of gets, you can see the line right there. Does a lot of damage, and over time, though, that's the big thing about it. And the only thing that it does a little bit of damage on impact, like that. You see it's how it did like maybe like 25 damage, something like that. Nothing too crazy. And then also, probably her most recognizable thing is her ultimate, and that was Bob. And Bob's just a big robot that goes in the back line and just absolutely demolishes people. Doesn't miss a shot. Basically Soldier's aimbot, but with you not doing it. Pretty cool ult. One of my favorite ults in the game. Not the biggest ultimate. If people know how to avoid it, yeah, it can kind of get shut down really easy. Or if they have a Ana really does counter Bob really easily. But that's enough for her kit. Let's get into some gameplay and some tips and tricks with Ashe. Alright, so the first thing that I see a lot of people not doing with Ashe, and take this with a grain of salt, guys, I am not a top 500 Ashe or anything. I am not a professional Ashe. I just know a higher level of gameplay for Ashe. I play her a good bit. Granted, I'm not the greatest with her, so you know I can definitely learn some stuff with her. So I don't know everything, but yeah. So with Ashe, a lot of people that I don't see utilize is her Dynamite. Ashe's Dynamite is probably the best thing in her kit by far. Her utility, best cooldown by far. Granted, she only has 2, but it provides a lot of utility for the team. So with her Dynamite, it's on a 12-second cooldown, so it's not long. You could throw it down and then you'll get it back within 12 seconds. So that's really not bad. And if you just keep chucking them things out, you know, that will give you a lot of pressure on the team. And having those Dynamites out, you can pull out Kiriko Suzu. You can get a lot of support cooldowns out, Immortality Field. You can get a bunch of stuff out from the supports that will keep their team alive. So it's actually really good to be throwing those Dynamites whenever you can. And that's just the thing that I don't see a lot of people do, is using those Dynamites whenever they get them. You want to use them as soon as you get them up. You want to keep putting that pressure on their team, because those Dynamites will and can win you team fights by pulling out supports cooldowns. Another thing with the Dynamites, that's probably the most important thing, is that it disrupts the enemy team. It causes a lot of chaos in the enemy team. So if you throw a Dynamite and you hit the entire team with it, right? that bat is gonna use his that bat might use his immortality. That Kiriko might use her Suzu, but also not with that. The supports, the DPS are gonna freak out. They're gonna immediately go behind cover, and they're gonna put no more pressure on your team. So that's an A+ with that. And then supports, they're gonna be looking at the DPS because they can't be looking at that tank. But the Dynamite doesn't affect the tank as much. The Dynamite only does 150 damage to the tank. That's like a flick. That doesn't do anything to the tank. But to the DPS, that does more than half their health. So the DPS are going to go behind cover. And then the supports are going to be forced to look at their DPS if they don't go behind cover. And a lot of times they won't go behind cover, but that's just what they usually do is go behind cover because they don't want to risk getting headshot by you. But supports are going to be forced to look at their DPS to heal them, use their cooldowns on them, keep them alive, right? Every now and then you might get a pick on their DPS, blah, blah, blah. It comes with it. But the main thing is that their tank will not have the attention of the support. So the supports will not be looking at the tank because they're looking at the DPS. If they that is if they have to turn around or go somewhere else to keep their other DPS alive, the tank won't have any of that support feeding him with heals. You know what I'm saying? So if he's just wide in the open, doesn't have any cover, you could easily kill their tank just from a Dynamite. And then you could also kill a DPS if the supports are looking just at the tank. You know what I'm saying? Dynamite just causes a lot of chaos between the team, and yeah, it's just a great thing on a low cooldown that you could easily just be throwing out. So that's one thing. That's probably the main thing that I think people should be doing more with Ashe. Another thing that I don't see a lot of people use is I don't see a lot of people use her non-scope in version of her gun. Everybody just usually just keeps that gun scoped in. Granted, whenever you scope out, the DPS isn't as high, but your fire rate is higher. So it kind of makes up for that if you can hit those shots a little bit more frequently. Granted, a lot of people stay scoped in with a tracer, but I'm pretty sure you can one-tap a tracer in the head, so it honestly probably is better to scope in against a tracer. But anything that dives on you, like a Genji or anything, you want to use that quick fire, because unless you can hit 2 headshots on them, then, I mean, and Genji has mobility like crazy, so the chance of you hitting 2 headshots on them are slim to none. But I think that you should definitely use that outscope of your gun a little bit more often, because that will provide a little bit more DPS, and that Genji might leave you alone because you just did half of his health before he did a quarter of yours. You know what I'm saying? It could definitely help you. Granted, you're not going to get a lot of kills with it, but it is something to keep people off of your back whenever they dive. Like I said about the coach gun, Coach gun, yes, it does do damage, but that's not its purpose. That's just for if you use your coach gun on somebody, you fly back to get away from them. That just does a little bit of extra damage to them. But like I said, you should 99% of the time you want to use that coach gun for mobility, to get out of situations that you shouldn't be in. For people diving on you, you need to use that coach gun, and it's on a decently longer cooldown. I think it's 15 seconds or something like that. You want to use that cooldown wisely. You don't want to just be spamming that for DPS, because if somebody knows what they're doing and Genji sees that you just use that coach gun just to hurt somebody, that Genji or that Winston or whatever is going to dive directly on you if they have any type of game sense. And that will win them the game majority of the time, just having a DPS that just uses their coach gun for fun. So yeah, you want to use that as your stay alive tool, your mobility tool, to get out of sticky situations. That's your only get out of jail free card, is to use that. So make sure you use that wisely. But yeah, on to the next one. It will be use Bob correctly. Granted, that's it's a pretty big statement, because he's a decently hard ultimate. He doesn't come back often, so you want to use him wisely as well. But yeah, if Bob is used correctly, he could be one of the biggest game changers in the game by far. The only thing with Bob, that he is very easy to shut down. Ana could easily just sleep him. So if you do go against the Ana, you want to listen for that sleep. And whenever they use that, you're good to go. Granted, sleep's on a pretty short cooldown, so you want to use Bob pretty quickly as soon as they use the sleep dart. But yeah, Sigma could just shield them off, stuff like that. But like everything, they have to do something about Bob, either whether that's get a cooldown out, get their shield towards him, something like that. So where Bob is something that helps with off lane pressure, not off lane pressure. I've been playing too much League. With what's that called? Off angling. Bob's basically just a big off angle So he's really good with that. If they don't have an Ana, you could get a lot of utility, a lot of kills with that ultimate. The main way I like to use Bob, which I find, does the most in a team fight, would be as soon as a team fight kind of starts, and y'all are fighting for whether that's for a point or to stall the cart, whatever it may be, and you throw Bob, but you want to throw that Bob in the back of their team. You don't want to just throw him to the side. You don't want to throw him behind you. You want to throw him in the back of their team to where he gets a good off angle on their team, because that's going to create two different lanes of pressure. So you're going to be your team's going to be shooting at him from the front. Bob's going to be shooting at him from the back. And hell, you might have a tracer, you might have a soldier or anything shooting them from a different angle. So you can maybe even have 3 different angles of off angling. So that right there is a guaranteed team fight. Like if you have 3 different angles of off angling, you win that team fight. And that Bob helps you get that 3rd off angle. You want to use that Bob very wisely because it is a longer cooldown, like I said, or not cooldown, longer charge rate for the ultimate. But he could be a very big thing that leads to you winning your games. But yeah, just use him wisely. And it also comes with time, learning how to use Bob, learning when to use Bob, when not to use Bob. But yeah, use him wisely. That just comes with time. But yeah. Last thing with Ashe, you want to make sure you use natural cover whenever you're engaging an enemy. That's the main thing. You don't want to just be standing out in the open because you are very punishable, especially if you don't have that coach gun. If you don't have your coach gun, if somebody dies on you, you're dead. You have no way of getting out of it unless the support saves you. But even if the support saves you, the support takes its attention off of the other DPS and the other support and the tank. That will most likely lead to a different kill. Maybe not you. You might get saved, but somebody else on your team will most likely get killed. So just don't get dove. If you do, have a way to get out of it. And that, another thing is using natural cover. Ashe is a long-range character, kind of like you kind of want to play her almost like an Ana. You want to play her behind a corner. You don't want to just be out in the middle, or like a Widow. You don't want to be out in the middle. You want to be behind a corner to where if somebody does shoot you and put pressure on you, you have an easy way to just back up, recoup, and then go back at it. But yeah, you don't want to stay in a 2 combined space because if you do, that coach gun won't provide you any ability. If you're in a building or something and a Winston dives onto you, you're pretty much dead because if you use coach gun, you're probably just going to be backed into a corner. And then what are you going to do now? You know what I'm saying? I think that's pretty much it for Ashe. She's a pretty easy and pretty common knowledge character. She's probably one of the most popular ones. She's very recognizable. But yeah, that's it for Ashe. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment a different character that I should do. Leave a like, leave a sub. I'm trying to get to 30 subs if you guys can help me out with that. If you stayed all the way through, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I'm really trying to work my following up there. But yeah, you guys just leave me some ideas of who I should do next or what I should do next. I'm open to anything because I'm not a very creative person. I can never think of anything. But yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.